A warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najima Lima, but first are the headlines. UPDF officer sentenced to life imprisonment for killing November 18th protesters. Sudanese top general Al-Burhan warns against foreign interference. Bodu qualifies for quarterfinals in Masters Cup. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The Division Court Marshal sitting in Kakiri in Wakiso district has sentenced to life imprisonment and 35 years imprisonment a UPDF officer and an LDU personnel for killing protesters during the November 18th riots in Kampala. We have more.
Lance Corporal Augustine Mugisha was accused of shooting dead Grace Walungama, a mechanic at a garage in Lugalo, Kosovo, in Lubaga Division, before later turning the gun onto Hussein Senoga, a local defense unit personnel. However, when the riots broke out, Walungama was standing by the roadside as he watched rioters, and when local defense unit personnel came to disperse the crowd, he ran to the garage, from where he was followed by Lance Corporal Mugisha, who shot him twice and died instantly. The Uganda People's Defense Force officer later shot dead Hussein Senoga, a local defense unit personnel who was questioning him for shooting dead Walungama. However, when he was presented before court, the Uganda People's Defense Force Lance Corporal lied to court about the death of 2 people and consequently asked court for a lighter sentence on grounds that he has 7 children and 2 wives. However, the pleas fell on deaf ears and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Mustafa Sali, a local defense unit personnel, was accused of killing one Ibrahim Mutasa Chirevu at Wandegea police station. According to prosecution, Chirevu, a mechanic, had gone to pick money owed to him by another man at Wandegea police station, was arrested in the resultant melee. When police brought rioters, Chirevu was also asked to join them and enter the cells, but when he refused, a local defense unit personnel ordered him to enter by force. The local defense unit personnel later pushed Chirevu using a nozzle of his gun, and all of a sudden, he was shot in the stomach twice. In his defense during the trial before the 1st Division Infantry Court Martial presided over by Colonel Sam Mugenyi, the local defense personnel said Chirevu was under arrest and had tried to snatch his gun and was mistakenly shot by a bullet which had remained in the safety catch of his gun. However, the court army found that the defense by the local defense unit personnel was full of lies and that he had intentionally shot Chirevu dead after arresting him, and Sali was sentenced to 25 years imprisonment to serve as an example to other officers who would be tempted to behave in the same manner and kill suspects.
The Education and Sports Ministry is yet to release school reopening calendar by way of media briefing by 15th December this year. This comes after the ministry and all actors in the sector conducting a series of consultative meetings regarding guidelines to be utilized by schools. Kachanchu reports.
In his press statement, the Education and Sports Ministry spokesperson Dr. Samuel Mujimba said that the Education Minister Madam Janet Kataha Museveni will on Wednesday 15th December 2021 issue out the school reopening calendar by way of media briefing, including a series of guidelines that will be observed amidst the reopening exercise, especially in line to combating the spread of COVID-19.
The Education Ministry is going to hold a symposium for special needs and inclusive education. Let me put it that way, because I think our public may better appreciate special needs education, and then inclusive needs a little bit more of explanation. We'll be holding this symposium on the 16th and 17th at Silver Springs Hotel in Bugolobi to increase awareness, mainly to increase awareness about the need for inclusive education in our education system.
Dr. Samuel also said that the ministry will hold a 2-day symposium for special needs and inclusive education, mainly to increase awareness about the need for inclusive education in the education sector, assess the impact of COVID-19 to special needs schools, as well as frontlining them in the school's reopening exercise.
Our Minister for Education and Sports, the First Lady, will be releasing the reopening calendar by way of a press briefing or media briefing on Wednesday the 15th. Wednesday the 15th in the afternoon it will be done from. So on 15th, I just hope 15th is Wednesday. So that is when she'll be releasing the calendar and responding to many issues that have been asked about the preparedness for reopening. Number two, today we are carrying out the final, let me call it consultation with our stakeholders regarding reopening, especially the guidelines that the schools shall be utilizing. So this includes the foundation bodies, UNATU, the private school owners and teachers. So that last consultation is today to fine-tune, because there is something small but major that happened in our reopening calendar that we want our stakeholders to understand and come alongside us. So that consultation is taking place today, and it will feed into the statement that the minister will use on the 15th to.
All the activities involved in the school's reopening process will be conducted in adherence to the presidential directives on COVID-19.
Sudanese top General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has warned against any foreign interference in the country's internal affairs during a speech after he attended the conclusion of a military exercise in the Mekelle area in the northern Nile River state. We have more. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan said that they are all watching the political scene and unfortunately say that a number of diplomatic envoys are circulating among the citizens and are clearly trying to incite the people to turn against the armed forces in order to seize the opportunity of interfering in Sudanese affairs. Al-Burhan accused diplomatic missions of encouraging revolt against the Sudanese Defense Forces. He further said that this has destabilized the country, which is already in the grip of violent protests. In past rounds of demonstrations, security forces used violence, including firing live ammunition at protesters, according to activists. At least 44 protesters were killed and hundreds were wounded since the coup, according to the Sudan Doctors Committee, which tracks protester deaths. The Sudanese military seized power on October 25th, dissolving the transitional government and arresting dozens of officials and politicians. The takeover upended a fragile planned transition to democratic rule more than 2 years after a popular uprising forced the removal of long-time autocrat Omar al-Bashir and his Islamist government. Hamdok was reinstated last month amid international pressure in a deal that calls for an independent technocrat cabinet under military oversight. The agreement included the release of government officials and politicians detained since the coup and the formation of an independent technocrat cabinet led by Hamdok. Let's take a very quick short break. We will be right back. The Gambia's re-elected President Adama Barrow has laid out plans for his second mandate. Speaking at a press briefing in Banjul on Tuesday, Barrow promised to be president for all Gambians. Barrow was easily returned to power in Saturday's vote after his first 5-year term ended the 22-year dictatorship of Yahya Jammeh.
According to official results, the former property developer notched up 53% of the ballot, far ahead of political veteran Ousseynou Dabowe's 27.7%. Turnout was high at 87% of the electorate. But post-election fiction is worryingly visible, and how the candidates and their supporters respond to victory or defeat over the next few days could be crucial. Late Monday, police used tear gas against Dabowe followers in the capital Banjul just hours after he appealed for calm and said he would pursue his grievances against the result in court if necessary. While Barrow won on the strength of his speech as the candidate of continuity, he faces mounting pressure for action both from home and abroad. International partners are pushing for the tiny West African state to push ahead with reforms to strengthen its democracy, including changes to the 1997 constitution that would limit presidential terms. At home, Barrow has to deal with demands from victims of the Jammeh dictatorship to root and branch prosecution of those responsible for years of persecution and abuse. The litany of crimes was spelled out in a long-awaited report that was handed to Barrow just before polling day. He has 6 months to respond and has promised justice, although he has also urged victims to be patient. Some fear, however, that he will be less than exhaustive, given that his party forged an electoral alliance with Jammeh's. The former dictator was forced into exile in Equatorial Guinea in 2017 after losing at the ballot box to Barrow, then a relative unknown.
From that, the 7th edition of the Dakar International Forum on Peace and Security in Africa came to a climax in Senegal on Tuesday. The forum had witnessed several meetings and debates among experts and authorities with the aim of finding solutions to the violence caused by terrorism and conflicts in the region, as well as finding solutions to the crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Bureau of African Affairs, Robert Scott, said that over the past 2 years, they see that it is so broad when someone tries to create peace and stability within a country, within a region, adding that it goes everything from climate change to democracy to accountable governance to countering violent extremism by having children in schools, by having food security, all the way to the fight against terrorism, which is very real. Political instability in Mali, other countries, and its consequences for the peace in the region were among the topics discussed at the forum, which opened on Monday. Mali has struggled to contain an Islamic extremist insurgency since the 2012 coup. Extremist rebels were forced from power in Mali's northern cities with the help of a French-led military operation, but they regrouped in the desert and began launching attacks on the Malian army and its allies. Assata Tall Sall, Senegalese foreign minister, said that ECOWAS had all the responsibility and had decided in the first incident to give the Malian military authorities a roadmap that was to lead to the return of constitutional order. Unfortunately, this roadmap was postponed by a second coup d'etat, but ECOWAS did not give up. It did not desist. It did not abandon Mali because its responsibility was once again with Mali. Several leaders, including South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa, Niger President Mohamed Bazoum, and African Union Chairperson Moussa Faki Mahamat, attended the two-day forum. Let's once again take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. In our business news today, the new military regime of Mamadou Doumbouya on Tuesday, December 7th, dismissed Loseni Kaba, who had headed the Central Bank of Guinea for 10 years, as well as the 2 deputy governors. 3 new officials were appointed. After creating a court of repression of economic and financial offenses, Mamadou Doumbouya's junta is cleaning up at the head of the Central Bank of Guinea. The governor, Loseni Kaba, seemed to collaborate with the new authorities. He had frozen the accounts of public services and former collaborators of Alpha Conde and had also pointed out at the end of October the shortcomings in the last rectifying finance law voted under the presidency of the overthrown head of state on 5th September. But he is probably too closely associated with the former regime. Indeed, he served for a decade at the head of the BCRG. Loseni Kaba was therefore replaced by Karamo Kaba, a young economist and director of studies in France at Ecofi Investments, a management company specializing in responsible investments and a subsidiary of Credit Cooperative. The 2 vice governors were also dismissed. Baidi Aribot is replaced by Mohamed Lamine, already Director General of Supervision at the Central Bank of Guinea. Ms. Saudo Balde, head of the Department of Credit Institutions at the BCRG, is appointed in place of Maduju So. In our health news today, Cape Town's health department has deployed a mobile vaccination service locally known as the VaxTax in Manenberg, offering COVID-19 vaccines to one of the city's biggest townships. South Africa has entered its 4th wave of COVID infections, driven by the emergence of the Omicron variant. According to Cape Town's health department, each VaxTax mobile site has 2 ambulances, with one acting as the primary vaccination point, while the other acts as the second vaccination and resuscitation center. Project leader Wayne Philander said they have been working with community partners to identify vaccination sites in an attempt to reach every corner of the Western Cape. South Africa has so far fully vaccinated over 15 million people, representing 25.3% of the population. New COVID-19 cases in South Africa have budged north from about 200 a day in mid-November to more than 16,000 on Friday. Health Minister Joy Fowler said that Omicron was detected over a week ago in the country's most populous province, Gauteng, and has since spread to all 8 other provinces. Even with the rapid increase, infections are still below the 25,000 new daily cases that South Africa reported in the previous surge in June and July. In sports, today Budu progressed to the quarterfinals of the 2021 Masaza Cup following a 6-1 comprehensive victory over Maogora in Muganzura's group at Fufa Technical Center Njeru on Wednesday, December 8, 2021. Kachanchu has more.
Forward John Vianney Bukenya, a second-half substitute, steered with a brace in the 7-goal affair. Sharif Diao Sengendo, Bruno Bunyaga and Brian Omirambi scored Budu's other goals. Abdul Kalanzi netted the consolation for Maogora. Sengendo gave Budu the lead 2 minutes after the half-hour mark. The joy was short-lived as the equalizer for Maogora arrived 4 minutes later as the first half ended 1 goal apiece. Kavuma restored Budu's lead with a solo effort in the 48th minute. Bukenya tapped home Budu's third in the 56th minute off a well-laid ball from the left by teenager Farouk Sekai. He then added his second with 10 minutes to play. Bunyaga scored a penalty for his 4th goal of the tournament, Budu's 5th on the day. This penalty was awarded following a foul in the goal area on Fahad Nsamba. Forward Omirambe kept the icing on the cake with a 6th goal but took Budu aloft Muganzirwaza group with 10 points. At the quarter-final stage, Budu will now face Singo, who finished second in Masengere group. Meanwhile, Butambala humbled Usuju 6-3 in a 9-goal thriller. Wekula finished runners-up in Muganzirwaza group and will face Bululi at the quarter-final stage.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.